Spurs are really boring to watch. Are they boring, Don?
Very.
Why are they boring? Is this not a very good squad? Is this a team that should be playing different football? They are 4th in the league, so you think that must be good. They've got loads of shots on goal, so that means action, right? And they've scored 46 goals, which is 4th. It's 5 more than Manchester United, who everyone loves. All very exciting football. But you see, the thing is, of those 46 goals, 12 are from set pieces, mostly corners, 2 are from penalties. Then you've got an expected goals of 37 roughly, which means they're massively overperforming, relying heavily on Harry Kane to overperform as he normally does. Son Heung-min's not been the same sort of player this season, and he normally overperforms, so they're doing well being 4th, but they're actually not creating that much. Let's look at what Conte sets his team up like. It's always this kind of 3-4-3, very occasionally a 3-5-2. But what you get is the wing backs push up, always hugging the line. Then you get Son will go up, Kane will go up, Kulusevski will go up, and that's basically it. Sometimes Romero will join on in a lovely box-to-box run from defence. That's very rare though. Now when these push forward, that forms your front 5. Son with Kulusevski in here, with Perisic in there, and that's basically your front 5. Then there's a 2 in midfield with Bentancur and Højbjerg when obviously they're both available. Then the centre-backs can push up, Davies can pull more over to the left side as more of a full-back, so then you get this sort of shape that controls the pitch like this in theory. There are small variations within this, obviously. Harry Kane will often stand next to the last centre-back and try and pin the team back to push them, but a lot of the time he drops into central areas to be one of their main creators. He's one of their main creators of chances, Harry Kane, as well as being their main source of goals. Their main chance creation specialist is Dejan Kulusevski. He scores very highly on chances created per 90, but what you've got is a lack of creativity from, well, anything really from Son this season. And in Højbjerg, you've got a player who doesn't tend to play progressive passes. Bentancur does, he's been injured. So when you take him out and put in someone like Skip, what you get is a very controlling defensive midfield. It's very cautious, all of this. And then what actually happens with Spurs is that they start horseshoeing it around. So they'll get to this sort of situation against a team, and then the ball will go back and round and round and round, and then they'll try and put a cross into the box, quite a low value kind of chance, and then maybe you'll get something from Harry Kane if he can pull something at the bag from here. It's very cautious, very boring, they rely on that. A lot of the goals they score are from corners. They do this exact thing. Son takes a corner to here, puts it into the box, someone like, I don't know, Højbjerg gets to the near post, flicks it on with a header, goes to the back post, and then Kane's there to finish it off. And relying on set piece goals is boring. It's not fun to watch. This team could be better, we think. So why does Conte play like this? Well, the idea is that rather than take risks, if you play like a team like Arsenal, for example, and you have all of the ball, and you try and control games, you leave yourself vulnerable to the opponent taking advantage of any space you leave as you open up. So we know that it's a 3-4-3 shape. In defence, it's very much a 5-4-1. They do it very early. In fact, in some games, you'll see them having almost every single player in their own box from the very start of the game. And the idea then is that by dropping nice and deep, what you do is the opposition will come out and push all their players forward, and that will, of course, leave loads of space in behind. And then when you've got players like Kulusevski, Kane, Son, and the other lads you can get forward, you can exploit this space. If you can get these 3 to run forward, more than often than not, you'll end up with maybe a 3v3 or maybe a 2v3, and that's a huge chance to score. And if you can take advantage of these transitional moments, like if a team is fully in their attacking shape, and they lose the ball, and then you can spring and attack. So they want to hit teams in their defensive transition, and they want to wait for them to have the ball nice and open, so there's all the space for them to be able to attack. Of course, you've got to have players back to do that. That looks quite boring. You're defending quite a lot, and you're relying on the opponent making a mistake. It's a very Jose Mourinho thing to do. It's in fact a Johan Cruyff quote. He says, the team who makes the fewest mistakes tends to win. It's not exactly what he said. He said it in a better way than that, but I'm quite close. So that's roughly how they play, right? And you can see it in the data. This is the game against Wolves that they lost 1-0. Really boring to watch. I watched a lot of Spurs this season. It's not fun. So lots of horseshoeing back and forward, very little creativity in the midfield. They tend to be guys who play short passes sideways. And the problem is the tempo is very slow. Antonio Conte is a very risk-averse manager. He wants to make sure, he wants to minimize the risk of leaving any spaces. By playing nice and slow, you can control the tempo of the game and limit your opponent to stealing the ball and attacking the space that you've left. But then you get to players like Kulusevski, who's the only real creative outlet in this area here. Pedro Porro is going to be a good wing back going forward. That's what you get. Then Kane drops in deep. Son Heung-min's not able to get ahead. You want most of his touches to probably be ahead of Kane. That's why you'd want him there. And then Perisic out wide. So all this, nothing happens. Relying on the set piece, they score a goal. And you see it, like the intent on how they play against arch rivals Arsenal. This is from the game that they lost recently at, not White Hart Lane, the new stadium, the one like a spaceship. It's very nice. Here you go. This is 4 minutes in. All the Spurs players, like I said, are right back in their box immediately. That's what they want to do. And of course, it will open up Arsenal, which will leave space in behind. Kulusevski gets the ball over here. tries to take on Zinchenko, manages to dribble past him because he's good at that, comes in here, and you get Harry Kane as the only player really far forward. You can see Son is starting to make that run forward. Kane will drop in, drag Gabriel, his man marker, with him into this space here, and then Kane gets lucky with this bit of touch. He goes through, I think Thomas Partey tries to tackle him, he manages to go past him, and then suddenly you see the benefit of playing in this way, because immediately you've got a massive amount of space. You've got players who are brilliant in transition. Sessegnon's fast, he gets up. Son's really fast, he gets up. You've got Kulusevski's pushing up as well. It's a huge chance that you wouldn't get by trying to build patiently in the opponent's half, when you might give the ball away and then they can counter-attack you. But then of course you get to the other end of the pitch and Sessegnon hits a really poor cross. They've only got Kane and Son there really. They're actually outnumbered by Arsenal who get back, and so the chance is gone. And so then they go back to try and sit deep, wait for them to open up, then they win the ball. If they can't hit them on the counter-attack, they transition to doing the horseshoe thing, they build up, and then nothing really happens. Spurs have, I think, the 4th highest amount of passes in the league, maybe not the 4th, but they're only like Liverpool, Man City, Brighton, teams like that, they're the only ones who are above them. They have a lot of the ball, but their possession is about 50%-ish, which tells you that they're neither in control of possession, nor are they particularly counter-attack. They're sort of in the middle. There's no exact clear style of play other than being a defensive Mourinho-ish one, but it worked for Conte before at Chelsea, when you get lots of intense playing and a lot of fast passes, but at the moment it isn't giving results. And then when things aren't working, what happens in games is the manager makes no changes really. There's no real changes. Like for like, you can take Son out, you can put in Richarlison up here. It's a good sign, Richarlison. You can play through the middle as well to back up Kane. It's hard to get a backup striker for Kane because everyone knows when they sign for Spurs, they won't play ahead of him. That's what you got. But then when the 3-4-3 isn't working, there is no transition to another shape, something that might change how they could play and operate within the game to create chances. If they had another manager, say one who knows the club well from inside, what might they look like? What might they do? The back three is Conte's first choice, but it might also be born out of the players that he's got. So Eric Dier is fine in a back three. In a back four, you start seeing the mistakes that he's prone to making. So if you play a back four, you've got this sort of shape. Maybe Davies pushes out, Perisic is more of a winger, so maybe drop him down here. So you get Davies wide, Dier can be one of the centre-backs, Romero's got to play, he's amazing. Porro is more of a wing-back as well. Skeven Højbjerg can come in here, maybe you put in Bissouma. The problem you get with this midfield of Spurs is there's no creativity within it. They're very much there to block and play short passes. They're there to break up play, pass it to the wide players, because the wingers are where all the creativity comes from. It's a bit when you play five-a-side, you put the ball into the corner, you don't score from there. The ball just comes back always. You should attack through the middle. But if you have these players here, that's the break-up play, maybe get box to box, that's what you get. So if you have these players here at 4-3-3, maybe that's one option. There are no players really in this list who could play behind Kane as a 10, but then really, the way Kane plays, he drops in anyway, so you get that sort of shape. So maybe you take out someone like Skip, put in, I don't know, Richarlison up top and Son. That is an option, but it's kind of stupid. It doesn't really work for me. These are options that they've got. But what they would need to do, Spurs, if they were to change to this more entertaining style of football, with all the risks that it poses, but the fun it gives to the fans, well, they probably have to buy some better players or different kinds of players to do that. You might think they've not spent that much in the transfer window, but if we compare them to arch rivals Arsenal, I'm sure you'll be pleased I've done that, Spurs fans. This is the 2020-21 season. You see Arsenal, Spurs. Spurs have spent more. And the kind of players you're getting, Arsenal spent more in the 21-22 season, but the players that Spurs are signing compared to Arsenal are players who suit this kind of Conte football. The defensive, sitting back, hitting the counter, have pace. The players that Spurs have signed haven't cost that much less than what Arsenal has signed, but they're very different kinds of players. And so if you want to then change to the next episode of what Spurs are going to be, you need to sign different kinds of players, different profiles of players, midfielders who can progress the play with passing, attacking midfielders, creative kind of players like that, but also a centre-back who can replace Eric Dier without losing Eric Dier's leadership from the team. It's going to cost a lot of money, take a lot of time to get there. It's very common when teams try to transition from being a defensive, solid unit into a more entertaining one, that they get turned over, results don't go their way, momentum drops, and then they end up in a bit of trouble. And so the thing you have to work out is whether you're happy enough finishing in fourth, but you are getting there with the results because it's Mourinho football. That's what it is. It's Conte Mourinho football. Or do you want to be fun to watch? Have a nice time with the football. Enjoy looking at match of the day. Is that what you want to have, but you're not finishing fourth? Maybe you will finish higher. I don't know, Arsenal have done it. Maybe you should think about that next time you watch your team win 1-0 from a corner routine. Because they're not bad, Spurs, but they're not fun. Which is best?
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.